Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Coach Cody podcast. Pride Month, June, is coming to a close here pretty soon. And at the beginning of this month, I definitely braced myself because of, the political climate right now. Being trans or, anywhere in the LGBT community is quite the talking point right now, to the point where it's a main talking point, I know, for the right and the left. Like, we support you or we don't support you. And then we just have the actual LGBT community kind of caught in the crossfires. And it really sucks when you're someone who just wants to live your life. And it almost feels like, so I've been out, for 10, almost, I transitioned nearly 10 years ago now, right? And as scary as it was to come out the first time, I feel like back in the day, there was more curiosity around being trans specifically. People didn't understand it, but generally they were respectful. Maybe they asked some unintentional, rude questions, kind of invasive sort of thing. And then, of course, there's also still the people who were, very against it. But I feel like it's worse now. I've had a pretty rough month with just being pummeled with trolls, and I kind of suspected that would happen due to it being Pride Month. So I did brace myself, but I didn't quite brace myself even enough, I think. And so the comments have been coming in, it's been rough, but I don't know how else to explain it. But the comments and the trolling even feels different than it used to be. Like before and now, people just would still just tell me like, oh, you're a woman, or they would ask me what genitalia I had. But it's kind of escalated more into violence. Like, when are you going to kill yourself? Or I would like to cut your head off. Or, you're going to die of cancer, or you're going to kill it's just, and all of these comments, predictably, you look at these people's profiles, and the most violent ones come from folks who have a cross in their profile, or a Bible verse, or an American flag. And it's disheartening that being trans has become something political. And people just assume so many things about you just because you are trans, and I kind of hate it. And I hate that people think that who I am is political. Is there anyone else walking around, just their existence is political? I don't know. But anyways, I don't understand why the most violent and disturbing comments, the most persistent comments, come from those who are, on the religious side. And I know, not all Christians. This is Christian nationalism. This is, I shouldn't even get started on it. But, it's definitely not Christ-like. I don't understand, because I grew up in the church. I was completely immersed. I do understand the mindset. And there's Christians who, they do their, I care for you, I love you, but I love the sinner, hate the sin, right? That's the kind of generation that I came from when I came out, nearly 10 years ago. So it was a lot more tolerable. They're like, we'll pray for you. That was about as violent and significant as it got. Did it feel good? No. But now it's a whole nother level. I can't even get on Twitter without seeing just anti-trans stuff everywhere. Before, it was scary coming out, but I've never felt quite the urge. Like, sometimes I actually think about, what would it be like to just be stealth? Because there's been some scary situations. Through the trolling, I actually had someone comment the location of my gym to kind of get a rise out of me. And again, things seem so much more politically charged now and scarier than it was like when I first came out. A lot of it used to be, ignorance, and now it's just pure hatred. And it's really disheartening. It feels like we're going backwards. I cannot wait for the day until, being trans is not just a political talking point. Because, all of the folks who have, left comments, I don't even think they know someone personally who is trans. They only repeat and regurgitate what they hear. It's the same things. Like, people are telling me to stay away from their children because they think that we're all here to transition children and indoctrinate children. And I'm like, what about the indoctrination that I got as a child with religion that I had no choice in? That doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And it's like, I didn't learn anything about being trans when I was younger. Absolutely nothing. The only thing I knew was God and the Bible. And here I am. I am still trans. So kids learning about it. Do I think kids in preschool, elementary really need to learn about it? Not necessarily. But them learning about people being different and stuff like that is not going to, in turn, make them trans or gay or whatever. And I don't really know where I'm going with this, but also, can you not be patriotic? With the flags in the profile, can you not be patriotic and love your country, but still be kind to humans? I feel like they have made the flag a symbol of hatred, because I literally, when I'm on Instagram, say, I'm looking at profiles, bodybuilding is usually fitness is coming through my feed the most. If I click on someone, I'm interested in their content, and I click on their profile, and I see an American flag in there, a lot of times I find myself hesitant to follow, or maybe I won't follow. So the flag has just become this symbol of hate, essentially. And I think that's why I've been thinking, 4th of July is coming up, and there's just so many conflicting feelings. Of course, I still love, I love where I feel very fortunate and privileged to live in the United States, even with everything. But the symbol of the flag and what it represents, I feel like is not the same. And I don't know why I'm talking about this right now, but just a reminder, here a little PSA. If you ever see anyone getting pummeled by trolls, don't say, just ignore it. Don't worry about it. Don't let them get to you. It's, it's well-intentioned. I get it. But when you're getting pummeled and you have a million comments coming at you every single day, constantly, literally this whole month, guys, I am not even kidding you. Every day, comments just keeps coming. And it's hard to ignore when it gets to that level. 1 or 2, sure. Hundreds, thousands. It gets rough. It starts to get in your head. I think it would be enough to really impact anyone. I am a seasoned veteran with trolls. It got to the point where it didn't get to me. I developed some pretty thick skin, because at the end of the day, I know who I am, right? But man, when you get enough of that coming at you, and then it just makes you see how many people out there, would have an issue with you just based off of who you are, can definitely be depressing and disheartening. It's made me be a little bit more on edge. I walk around the gym sometimes, wondering, would that guy have given me a fist bump if he knew that I was trans? Would that guy call me boss still and talk about my traps if he knew I was trans? And it's a bit of a mind fuck. So all that to say, again, be kind. You never know what someone's going through. There's a lot of bullshit going around this world, and it really does not take any more effort to be kind. There is someone on the other side of the screen, and I even want to, let's start some sort of, maybe we could start a movement. Comment something positive to 5 strangers on the internet this week. just 5, something positive. It could be anything. It could be like, hey, I really like your shoes, or oh my gosh, you look so pretty. Oh my gosh, I love your hair today. Anything, because I feel like we either don't engage with people's content on the internet, or we only engage when it's something negative. So let's try to flip that around. Let's finish Pride strong. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, total tangent. But before I get into the next, no. Okay. So I have a topic for this podcast, but I think I'm going to try something new-ish where I go over, a new study, and it could be about anything, health, fitness related, just because I love me some studies, and, I always like to stay on top of the latest news as far as fitness and nutrition goes. So I picked up this study today, and the study is a pre-workout supplement better than caffeine alone for improving resistance exercise performance. And I liked this one because, back in the day, pre-workout did not exist. I don't know exactly when it started existing. I know it came into the fitness scene when energy drinks were a thing. And so from energy drinks to pre-workout, before, what did people take? Probably just a cup of coffee or maybe some caffeine pills or something along those lines. So how on earth did people get pumped for their workouts before pre-workout existed? Probably still caffeine. But are pre-workout supplements any more effective, or do they give you any more advantage than just a cup of coffee? So that's the question here that this study is looking at. So what was studied? The effect of multi-ingredient pre-workout supplements, MIPS. I'm just going to say pre-workout because that's a really long way of saying it, compared to caffeine and a placebo on resistance exercise performance in women, which this is very unique. A lot of studies are not made on women. It's usually men. So this is just unique all around. Anyways, so the outcome assessed were the number of repetitions completed for the bench press and leg press. So who was studied? 10 women, average age of 22, with resistance training experience and who were habituated to caffeine. So they already, had adapted. They had already built up a tolerance to caffeine. Potential participants who consumed less than 250 milligrams of caffeine per day were excluded. They're like, you're not addicted, you're out. All right, so how was it studied? So in this crossover trial, the participants completed as many repetitions as possible on one set of leg press, using 80% to 85% of one repetition maximum, and one set of bench press, using 75% of one repetition maximum. 30 minutes before each workout, the participants ingested either a full scoop of the pre-workout, a half scoop of the pre-workout, half scoop of the pre-workout caffeine, 6 milligrams per kilogram of body weight, or a placebo. The workouts were separated by a washout period of at least 72 hours. So each full scoop of the pre-workout contained citrulline malate, 8,000 milligrams beta-alanine, 4,000 milligrams betaine, I might be saying that wrong, betaine, 2,500 milligrams taurine, 1,300 milligrams, L-tyrosine, 1,000 milligrams, alpha-GPC, 300 milligrams, caffeine, 200 milligrams, and L-theanine, 200 milligrams, among other ingredients. So what were the results? There were no differences between the supplements. So pre-workout or caffeine, there were no differences. However, there's a catch. So the potential usefulness of citrulline malate, beta-alanine, is related to their ability to help buffer metabolites produced during high-intensity exercise. A workout involving 2 sets, one for the upper body and one for the lower body, is unlikely to generate enough metabolic stress for the pre-workout to provide any effect. As such, the results are not necessarily generalizable to higher volume workouts. So although they didn't have a difference, there's a fly in my ear, and I don't know why. Anyways, so there wasn't any difference in these short workouts, but there could be a difference in longer workouts, so workouts with more volume. So, useful for, short blasts of, high intensity workouts, but we don't know which is better for longer workouts. So the verdict is kind of still out. My workouts can be anywhere from, an hour and a half. So maybe pre-workout could still be superior. We'll wait for that study to come out. But anyways, now on to the topic of the podcast. And let me know what you think if you like to learn about the latest studies. If you're like, yeah, let's include this segment. If you find it boring, let me know as well. But hey, I'm just going to do it because I like it. Anyways, so this week's topic, I wanted to talk about why there's no one-size-fits-all diet or workout plan. Biggest reason being, I see a lot of people either following workout plans that someone else followed because they think that they're going to have the same results, or they hire a coach based on how they look. Like, oh, this coach has the best abs. I'm going to get the best abs if I hire this coach. So you do not want to just hire your coach off of the coach's physique. You do not want to do a workout plan based off what other people were doing, because we are all different. And there's things that's going to make a difference pertaining to your results. Even if two people do the same exact workout, follow the same exact nutrition plan, there's going to be different results because they're different people. And I want to talk about the differences that can make a difference when it comes to results. So, we all have we're all different. So things that can make a difference in, depending on the workout plan we follow or the nutrition, genetics, our lifestyle, and our goals. So your body responds differently based on things like age and gender as well, and metabolism and stress levels. Unfortunately, I'd be huge if I was not just a stress ball. Just kidding. I don't know, but I stress a lot. So sometimes I wonder how much that actually does impact. I mean, I know it does impact my workouts as far as how I feel during them, but I'm like, man, I wonder how far along I'd be if I wasn't such a stress case. Anyways, moving on. So, along the lines of there's differences in genetics and age and lifestyle and all that, we also have personal preferences. And those personal preferences need to be considered when building a workout plan or a nutrition plan, because it has to be sustainable long term. If you absolutely hate strength training, if you hate the gym, then chances are if you follow a workout plan that involves the gym, you might not stick to it. But that being said, there are some things that you have to give some time first before you start enjoying it. So don't think just because you don't like strength training or that you don't like cardio that you never will. I always say give things at least a good solid 3 months before you just hang it up and say, nope, never again. So keep that in mind when I talk about these things. I'm not saying don't ever do things you don't enjoy. Life is full of having to do things that we don't enjoy, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't. So, preferences, it will be more sustainable if you find something that you at least somewhat enjoy. So if you hate running, you give it 3 months, you still hate running, cool. You actually don't have to run, but you can find other forms of cardio to supplement with just to keep you healthy and that you don't hate it so you can continue it long term. And the same goes for, strength training. Say you don't like bodybuilding style of training, you like more functional style, or you like CrossFit, then that would be the route to go. And as many things I have, I don't have a ton against CrossFit. I do have some, but if at the end of the day, that's what gets you up and moving, I am all here for it. Anything that can make you a healthier self, sweet, I support that. So another thing you want to consider when it comes to workout plans and nutrition is health conditions. So, do you have diabetes? Do you have a knee injury? Do you have a back injury? You don't want to follow a plan if it's going to make these conditions worse. And of course, consult with your doctor if there's anything you're concerned about, or if there's anything you think potentially could make these things worse. I don't think that you need to consult. If you go to a gym and you look at the exercise machines, it says consult with a doctor before basically using that machine. Let's not get that obsessed with it. We can also use our common sense. But if you have an actual diagnosed condition that could potentially, if you have a heart condition, I would say talk with your doctor before you run a marathon, right? Or before you start training for a marathon. So let's just use our common sense there, but you definitely don't want to do anything that is going to exacerbate a current health problem. So another thing to think about that's going to be different is, like I said, lifestyle, but also your goals. So, your daily routine, your job, family commitments, personal goals, those are all going to dictate what kind of plan is best for you. And remember that they have to be sustainable. So if you have a busy life, you work 7 days a week, it's not going to be a great idea to also be working out 7 days a week or doing a plan where your workouts are 2 hours long. You're going to want to make things more efficient. So, maybe you only want to work out 3 days a week, full body workouts, and you're only in there for like an hour or 30 minutes, whatever you need. That's going to be a lot more sustainable in the long run so that you don't burn out and then just quit. So doing something is always better than nothing. So keep that in mind, all right? Don't go thinking that you have to. Basically, I feel like a lot of times we think, I can't do it this way, so then I'm not going to do it at all. That's not the way to go. Do what you can when you can. If there's times where life lets up a little bit, then you can try to do more. But again, something is better than nothing. So what can you do to find the right workout plan for you? So thing to do first, experiment. Don't be afraid to experiment, because then you see what works and what doesn't. And I'm not the person, there's a lot of fad diets out there. One diet I would say, probably just hands off, that I would not recommend, is definitely carnivore diet. Even when it comes to keto or paleo or whatever, I say, hey, give it a try. See how it goes. Because then you're collecting notes. You're collecting data on yourself. So think of your life as having this little... think of yourself as being a bit of a science experiment. That sounds kind of weird, but so everything you try, keep notes on it, and then you have the journey of you, right? You've got all the data, what did work for you and what didn't, and that can help you make improvements going forward. That can help you make things sustainable moving forward. So the more data you have, the better. So don't be afraid to experiment with things. You cannot fail. If the keto diet doesn't work for you, cool. That doesn't mean that you just should never clean up your eating or change your eating habits. That just, it shows it gave you an answer. It's like, hey, keto is not for you. And then you get to move on and go a different direction. So a lot of times failure isn't failure. It just shows us which direction not to go, especially when it comes to nutrition and fitness. There really is no such thing as failure unless you quit. So just keep that in mind. And when it comes to workouts too, feel free to experiment. Go to the gym, do a bodybuilding style workout, go to a CrossFit gym, see if you like that. Try going out for a run or join a running group. And like I said, give it at least 3 months, because sometimes, like vegetables, workouts are acquired tastes. I feel like for me, strength training was definitely an acquired taste. I used to be a runner, so I had to kind of get used to it. I had to get used to lifting and enjoying it, and I did eventually. And I used to be a runner, and I used to hate running. Let me tell you, if you were on my soccer team or my basketball team, I hated running. I didn't care if I was the last person coming in. I wasn't slow. I wasn't the slowest. I just was like, I hate this. I mean, it's a different story if it was something competitive. Cool. But in practice, I was like, I don't need to be first. It's fine. And I played forward and goalie. So I was mostly like, why do I need to run long distances? I'm just standing here or I'm sprinting. Anyways, sorry for that tangent. But so yeah, experiment with different workouts, different nutrition plans. And, last but not least, if you're feeling really lost, seek professional guidance. You can hire a coach. Hey, shameless plug. As coaches, we take the guesswork out for you. We help you experiment. We can see what works for you, see what doesn't, and make sure you're on the right path with some accountability along the way so that you can focus on reaching your goals and not just wondering if you're even going in the right direction. So also, we're our own worst critics. So sometimes we can't even see our progress, and then we think that something is not working when it really is. So having a coach or, someone who is guiding you can be helpful in keeping us patient. It can be helpful in keeping us accountable. It can be helpful in helping you actually see the progress that sometimes we just don't see because we're looking at ourselves. So guidance, coach, or whatever. You don't have to hire me. I'm just saying any coach can be very helpful. The biggest thing though, you gotta stay patient. Like I said, try these things for at least 3 months, but then also don't just plan hop because you're not seeing the results you want in a week or a few weeks. That's a long road to nowhere if you're just changing up your plan every other week, or you're changing up your coach every other week or month or etc. It's just, anytime you see someone who has had about 20 coaches, if someone who's had like many coaches and they come to me, it's a bit of a red flag because there's that indicator of, hey, okay, this person probably struggles a bit with being patient. Doesn't mean I'm going to say no and not accept them as a client. It'll just be a note in my head to remind them to be patient and make sure that we have their expectations in the right spot, right? So one of the biggest things as a coach to try to do is I like to try and make sure that your expectations are in the right spot. It's hard sometimes. I'm not trying to be discouraging. I just like to be realistic, because if you don't have your expectations in the right spot, it's going to be setting you up for a lot of frustration. A lot of times you end up quitting, or at least temporarily. And that's not what we want. We want to make sure you're on the right path, right? So again, make sure to stay patient, take notes, track your progress, take progress photos, do your weigh-ins, log your weights in the gym just so you can see that you are on the right path or not. But that's the biggest thing I would say about making sure that you are not just doing a workout plan because Joe Schmo over there did the workout plan and his biceps are now huge, or you're not hiring a coach because maybe he's like 10 times, all right, never mind, 10 times Mr. Olympia. So don't hire a coach because he's like 7-time Mr. Olympia. Just because someone looks a certain way does not mean that they have the knowledge of getting there. Some people just have really great genetics. And you could say the same, don't hire me because of my traps. If you want good traps, don't hire me for that. I mean, you could if you want. But my traps are mostly a genetic component of my physique. Of course, yes, I have worked hard and I have put in the work, but I have done nothing specifically for my traps. They've just always been big. So that's when you have to be careful of who you're hiring, because someone has great traps, great abs, great biceps. It could be the area that they're just genetically blessed in. It's not everybody, but it's a thing. So just make sure you do your research before starting a plan and making sure that it is right for you, and making sure that if you're hiring a coach, that they are knowledgeable and they are making a plan for you and your needs and your individual goals and needs and schedule and stuff, or else it's going to be one of those disappointing situations where it might not be sustainable long term, or you might not get the results that you're looking for. All right, so that wraps up this episode. Thanks so much for listening. Sorry about the random tangent in the beginning, but let me know what you think about the research segment. I will keep those in if you find them helpful. All right. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, and you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment below. If you get a chance, if you could give this podcast a rating on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, I would greatly appreciate it. But until then, peace out. I will talk to you next time.